you guys?
Hey, good for being here today.
Of course. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, where are you today?
Salt Lake City.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. I'm in the gray state of Washington. It's very gray outside today. It's not that cold though. We don't have
That's good.
snow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
How's the
Here,
weather there?
it's okay. Like it's cold, but we get inversion really bad.
Mm.
And so that's what's going on right now. So I actually flew in on Monday, and flying in, you could see like the cloud of, the dark nasty that you're flying.
Yeah.
So that's not great. But other than that, it's blue skies,
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear. All right. Well, we're going to get started in just a minute. Thank you for being here today. And let's make sure we get some more people going and launch this thing here. I'm going to get my slides started up, Fatima, just so that I test the system. And we'll make sure that we're working it properly. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, is that that's working okay?
Perfect.
All right, great. Okay, so if I do that, you could see that if I drew on it?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, great. And we're going to have a few other people rolling in here, and then I'll try to start close to on time. And the beauty of this is that we'll record it so that if somebody misses it, or if you have somebody that you think needs to see this information, then we'll be able to share that with you after the fact. So give a couple more minutes for everybody to get joined in here. And I know a lot of people will watch the recording, so they've already told me that they can't make it, but they want the recording.
We also have someone who joined through their phone.
Okay, good.
That's me, Jesse. Devin here with Mars of Billings.
Devin, hello. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, buddy. Yeah, thanks for doing this. Gonna try to catch what I can on the fly today, but I'd love to have information share with my team too. So
that's awesome. That's great. Is it getting cold there yet?
It's 58 and sunny right now.
Oh man, that's great.
Yesterday was 62 in Montana. It's crazy.
Oh wow.
It is not normal.
Yeah. It's a weird year so far. It's
been super weird. Yeah.
Yeah, 47 degrees in Washington right now, Western Washington. I'm in Snohomish, Washington, north of Seattle.
Wow.
And gray for the next 6 months. So
that's hard. I don't know how you do it.
Hi, Josh Polson.
Hey everybody, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Josh.
Howdy.
And Josh, just so you know, we did the opposite of what you wanted. We made this really long. And then what we did, but the good news is we do a little intro for you. I have a couple slides for you near the front if you want it. And then after that, you can ditch. So if you're like, I'm out of here, you can go. But we figured we had a lot of great stuff. There were so many cool things that we wanted to share that we didn't want to shortchange it. And we figured people will stay as long as they have availability, and we'll record it for anybody that maybe has to get back to work and they can watch the recording too. So
awesome.
I see Steven joining us as well. That is great. Out of New York, Steve, but he's not in New York. So that's a cool little fun fact. Okay, well, I'm just going to get started. It's 12:01 my time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I think that must be 2 o'clock Central. So let's get going. I really appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you. And if you're running an automotive restyling or aftermarket shop and you're starting to think seriously about 2026, then this whole session is going to be for you. It's about clarity. It's about clear goals, clear numbers, and we're going to help make sure you have a clear marketing plan that actually supports where you want your business to go in the next year. And it isn't theory. I mean, it's really more about, we're not just like trying to follow trends for the sake of trends. We really want to focus on how to maximize the lead flow, put a real growth plan in place that you can execute. And just so you know what kind of session this is going to be, it's really designed to be a working workshop. So you can just listen in and that's fine. But if you have a pen and paper, and in a minute, we're going to send out a link to a workbook, you can actually follow along. And we're going to give you some tools. We even have an online calculator to help you. It's pretty cool. and there's some frameworks that you can actually use, and it's not just slides to nod along to. So first up, before we go further, I want to introduce my co-host here, Josh Polson, and he doesn't like to brag, so I'm going to brag about him just for a minute for you all, because he's a cool guy, I think. He's the owner of Auto Additions, and also partners in PI Holdings, and they own and operate and help multiple automotive restyling shops. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can ask him afterward. He's got 30 plus years. He's getting really old. He's like a very old man, and he has over 30 years of industry experience across installation side, sales side, shop leadership, all of that. Served in leadership in pro, including being pro council chair or past, and has been involved in the committee since 2012. He's finally, they sent him out to pasture. He's done so much volunteering. So now I don't even think you're allowed to anymore. He also is a partner in Restyler Connect and the AAC software, which we think is really cool. And if you need shop management software, you should check it out. And he's got a real business first mindset. They're focused on efficiency, profitability, customer satisfaction. And he also co-hosts the Ride and Style podcast with me. Did I forget anything, Josh?
My dog's name is Cooper.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you for being here. And I will give you a couple slides. And just so you're not surprised, Josh, this is what we talked about at dinner back when you visited. So It's just about some goal setting stuff. And I put together a few of them for you. Let's keep going here just for time. So here's the plan for today. We're going to go and set clear goals and targets for 2026. A lot of shop owners have goals in their head, but they're not written down. And so your goal here, they're not tied to real numbers. We want you to get them tied to real numbers. We want to help realign the KPIs and the tracking, so you actually know what needs to happen month to month to hit the goals. And we're going to map out a marketing plan, also a budget, which channels, and where you should be focusing your energy. So again, not just generic fluffy stuff. We want to get down to the real deal. And we're going to talk about important trends that are shaping how customers are finding restylers right now, which is changing. Things are changing rapidly, and what you should actually pay attention to versus what you might be able to ignore. So the goal overall is just simple. We want to set you up for massive success in 2026 and beyond, and clarity instead of confusion. So that's our overall goal today. First, before we go further, I want you to grab a workbook. We have a workbook for this. You're going to see a link. And I think Fatima is going to put it in the in-call messages chat, but also if you have any trouble, we can email it to you afterward. You can follow along with it. You don't need it right now, but it's a really cool resource, and it helps you review everything we went over too. So we're going to put that link out there for you. Or if you're really good at typing, you can look at my slide and try to type it in, which would be insane. So we'll put that in there. Fatima, are you going to get that in the chat for us? She did it. There it is. Thank you very much. Okay. So that's your document. You can make a copy of it, or it's a PDF. You can download it and print it. If you're really, really smart with like PDFs and you know how to edit them online, you can do that, but that's beyond the scope of today. So I recommend having it open somewhere, maybe on another tab. We're going to reference it throughout. There's some exercises in there. You could also just use a pad and paper, but I think the workbook makes it easier. Okay. So lots to implement today. All right, there's also this really cool thing that we built. It's a tool specifically for the workshop, and there's a Restyler growth calculator, and it helps you reverse engineer how many leads and jobs you need to hit your revenue goals. And the other is a marketing budget planner, which helps you decide how much to invest and where that money should actually go. They're not complicated spreadsheets. They're just really easy. So you just fill it out and it answers all your questions. So you're not guessing. Very, very cool. And I think I have it live right here. So let me know. I probably have to stop sharing and resharing. I'm actually going to do that really quickly because I think that would be helpful. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a sec. I'm going to pop it up so you guys can see this. Okay, SEO calculator. All right. Are we, I think it's up. Okay, so on your screen, and Fatima can put the link in there for you also. So there is going to be it's actually at restylergrowthcalculator.net, netlify.app, but she can put that link in there too. So this is a live calculator. And the way it works is that you're able to go in, for example, and you could say, let's say your annual revenue goal is $4 million. I'll just make this up. Let's randomly make up a number. Let's say you're doing 3.5 and you want to do 4. And let's say your average job size is 850. Now that might be tricky. I know this is really hard question for a lot of people. Like, I don't know what my average job size is because some of them come in at $5,000 and then every now and then we do something for $150, right? But typically, my guess, if you don't know, it's somewhere between 500 and 1,000, and it might actually be higher than that. And so you might be at 850 is what I put in here. Like, just say 850. And then this is another number. If you know your call to lead closing ratio, and now this, remember, these are just high level stuff. So what you want to go is like for every inquiry we have, like a real lead, like somebody not follow-up calls to your shop, but somebody who calls in going, hey, how much does window tint cost or whatever? For every one of those calls, how many, do you actually are going to turn into real leads? Okay, so that is a guess. I just put 40%, and you can see the calculator instantly is going to show me a number, and it's kind of a useful number. Monthly revenue target, right, would have to be that, and then the jobs needed 393 and the leads needed 981. So it's just kind of rough numbers, for in general what you would need. And if you go to the budget planner, what's really cool about the budget planner here is you can say that, let's say your annual revenue, and let's say you're doing $2 million a year, total annual revenue. And then the marketing budget percentage of the revenue. Now, this is the tricky one. It might be kind of small on my screen, so I'll zoom in a little bit for you. If you look on here, we have some guidelines. And the guidelines are, if you want to maintain your business, let's say you're just maintaining, you've been coasting for 30 years, you're not really looking to grow. I mean, you're happy with where you're at. Or maybe you're just kind of looking to pass it to your heirs. And maybe you would want to pick a 1 to 5% budget. If you want moderate growth, you're going to be in 6 to 10%. Usually if you've talked to me on the phone, I usually throw the number 10% out. That's at the top of the moderate growth level. So moderate growth is like, hey, we really want to, we're kind of conservative with our money. We don't want to spend a lot, but we know we want to grow. You pick a number between 6 to 10. If you want accelerated growth, like, hey, we want to position this company to sell in 3 to 5 years, or like, we just really want to amp it up. We did pretty well last year. We want to go crazy. You would want to do maybe 11 to 15. And super aggressive is 15 plus. Now, this is a really high budget. I actually don't personally recommend this for most businesses unless you're just really profitable right now. You know your numbers and you're thinking, yeah, I mean, like, why not? We can spend more. But you're going to notice it makes a big difference here in the percentage, because if you look at this, it says your total annual budget would be 10% of your revenue is 200 grand. That's 16,000 a month. And if you look at how it breaks down, you can also say, well, how much do we want to allocate there? Do we want to go online, offline, or repeat business? Repeat. Now, online, offline, online is digital. It's everything related to digital. That's not just your website and SEO. That's your Google. It's your Facebook and Instagram. It's all the online stuff. Offline would be everything else. That's your dealer mats, your brochures, your flyers, a vehicle wrap that you write off your taxes as also part of your business expense. Repeat business is internal marketing. It's almost like to your existing customer base, following up with them to try to get them to do more, or offering like special, like, you do a training at the dealership for the sales team, and you buy them all lunch, so all of those things that are kind of like more internal. You're not like marketing outside. You're working with your current customer base or your referral network. And this is kind of a good, healthy balance here. This is, you could play with these percentages if you want. So if you're doing online, you could see that with those percentages, you'd spend about $3,750 in management. That leaves you with $3,750 for the ad side, for the paid ad side. Offline, it leaves you with $7,500. Repeat business, $1,667. And this is totally up to you. You play with whatever you want. You just change the percentages around. Let's say that's a little bit much for you. You want to go down to 8%, and it recalculates the numbers just like that. Easy peasy. So that's an exciting little thing there that we have. And I will get back to my slides. So if you need that, and for some reason it didn't come through, we will send you the link and you guys can get that. Just contact us and we'll help you figure it out. Okay, back to the slides. All right, let me know when I'm up again, guys. How are we doing? Okay, back. Great. Okay, so a quick thing about me. You haven't met me. My name's Jesse Stoddard. I wrote a new book. I'm really excited about it. I hope you get a copy. We can send you one. If you contact us, we'll send you one for free if you're on this webinar. And I've spent a long time learning marketing in general, and a decade or more has gone into that in general. And then with Restylers, the last few years, really working to learn everything ins and outs of it. So that's something that I would love to share with you. And it's a really great playbook on how to do your marketing. I'm also on the SEMA Pro Select Committee. I got a chance to speak at SEMA Pro educational session. And I'm working with a lot of great restylers now. Our team is working, and we're learning new things every day. And every time we work with another restyler, we learn another great thing about it. So I'm just excited to be here and looking forward to sharing more. All right, so let's talk about the key growth drivers. Over the years, there's a few consistent growth drivers that we're seeing with shops. So shops that grow intentionally tend to have these three things in common. They're number one, they're clear on where they're going. I know that sounds like but goes without saying, but it's important to understand how customers actually find you and how you're going to do that. And they build systems, not just tactics, to support the growth. So the shops that struggle, they aren't lazy or they're not bad at what they do. They're just reacting instead of planning, especially when it comes to sales and marketing and promotion. So they tend to just take whatever comes in, and they're kind of going with the flow. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not a recipe for growth, right? And so one thing that we did internally is we said, well, as a marketing company, what do we want to, how are we going to be positioned to do that? So our long-term mission is simple. We want to help 1 million customers personalize their vehicles to reflect their unique style, and help the restylers who serve them build strong, profitable businesses in the process. And I think that this is kind of about raising the bar for all of us, which is if we get the word out about what a restyler even is, and if we help people, the consumer, understand what's available to them, you can't buy what you don't understand. You're not going to buy it. And so it's not about chasing vanity metrics. It's really helping shop owners build something sustainable, something that supports their life, their team, and their future. So we're super excited about that. This is kind of part of our mission. Before we dive into goals and numbers, and Josh is going to come in and I've got a couple slides for him to talk about goals and kind of a cool perspective he has. But I first want to quickly touch base on the biggest marketing trends that are shaping 2026. So first, there's AI. Google still matters, but AI-powered search tools like ChatGPT or Gemini, which is Google's version, or and Bing even, and other search tools that are powered by AI, they're influencing how people research shops and services. So you have to show up in both places now. And the second thing is online scheduling. And I would say that along with, I call it online scheduling because that's what it used to be called, but now it goes beyond that. It's really about the self-service movement. It's about people actually they're searching, and then they're wanting to know pricing, and they're wanting to know more. So one cool thing that Josh does with AAC is there's basically a way to find pricing estimates. So any kind of restyler can benefit from this with more information that has to do with, like, how do you make it easy for people to find out what things generally cost, like ballparks, and answer those questions, and then make it easy to schedule. So there's a big movement towards self-service is the main thing there. So if they can book online without calling you, they're starting to do that. If they can do it all through text message, they're starting to do that. And that leads me to the third, the two-way text messaging is huge. So a lot of customers would rather text than call, especially during work hours. You're going to find that if they're not doing it yet, it's not necessarily because they don't want to, it's because we as restylers are not making it easy to do so. And so it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're like, no, people have to call me. I have to call them on the phone. Well, because you are that way, then they have to call you, and then they call you. But it's not because they want to. They actually want to get more answers online before they talk to you. People want to talk to a salesperson, but only after they're good and ready. They don't want to, they're like, So the more we can get them online, actually communicating with us before that dreaded phone call, the better. And so, especially during work hours, you have to have that ability there. A fourth one is AI-powered lead follow-up. Now, it doesn't mean you have to turn everything over to AI or chatbots or whatever, or people or AI on the phone. I'm not saying that, but automation and speed to lead matters more than ever. Automation is becoming like our big competitive advantage. One of the things that we do that's really simple, we have this little feature in our CRM called missed call text back. And it's such a kind of simple little thing. It means, like, let's say you're on the phone and someone calls you, but you're on the phone, so you can't pick it up. You don't put them on hold and, like it would go to voicemail. Or let's say you walk away from the phone, your staff does, and the phone rings and they don't pick up. Well, nowadays, people are just like calling somebody else. They're not leaving a message. And so what we found is that we have this little feature where if they call and you don't pick up, the system texts them back like, say, hey, I'm sorry I missed your call. Is there anything I can help you with? And it's not perfect, but even that makes it so they go, oh, well, they are at least talking to me. And a lot of people will then follow up with a text or try calling again. And it saves a huge amount of missed calls. And then last thing is authentic video content. This is the hardest one. But real shops, real people, real expertise, this is how you stand out. Some of you might know Rachel Keenan. She does the social media for SEMA Pro and some other councils now. And what she's been able to do, it's really hard, but she's really trying to make it feel authentic when you post on social. And you know what? It takes work, but it's worth putting in the effort because people will respond to that way more than just kind of boring corporate looking posts or ads. Now you have a little bit of those too, but really the authentic stuff. So we're going to touch on this more later, but even if you learn nothing else from this, those 5 trends are the things that you want to be paying attention to. So hopefully that is going to be valuable to you today. So let's dive into the goal section now. So everything we're about to talk about starts here. So before we talk the channels, the tactics, or the tools, we have to get clear on where you're going. Marketing without a clear goal is just an activity, right? It might not feel busy, but it's not intentional. It's very hard to measure and improve. So the first step in 2026 is setting a clear destination. There's this quote from Brian Tracy that I really love. Success is goals, all else is commentary. That's great. So what that means is if you don't have a clear goal written down, everything else becomes noise, okay? The next thing is, it's like, I like to use a sailboat analogy. So if you don't have a destination, you're basically drifting. The wind might push you somewhere, but it's probably not where you intended to go, right? Clear goals are what like put wind in the sails. So once you know where you're going, decisions get easier, what to invest in, what to say no to, what actually matters, all that stuff. So that's kind of a good way to just sort of keep it in mind. And it's why clarity matters. So when your goal is clear, your team knows where they're working toward. Your marketing decisions make sense. Your numbers stop feeling random. So if you don't have the clarity, it kind of feels like chaotic. Okay. So we're going to pause really quick. And if you haven't already, make sure you download that workbook. And if you don't mind, in the chat, just type in the word yes if you have the workbook or you have the link at least. And I like the little interactivity. Just make sure I've got people who are still able to hear me. Great. Erica, thank you. Josh, yes. Everybody else is driving. So that's fine. Okay, great. All right. So then the first thing I want you to write down is your current snapshot. And if you don't have these, at least write these down as homework. So you're headed into 2026. Where are you sitting today? Where are you starting? What's your average monthly revenue? Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, what's your average monthly revenue? How many jobs are you typically running per month? What's your average ticket or your average sale? What's your close rate in the field? Or like when you go out to dealerships or back in the office on the phone? How many trucks or install bays are you running right now? Okay, it's up to you. It depends on your situation, but pick a few numbers. They don't define you, but you need a starting point. Another really, really good one that I recommend is what's your retail sales versus dealership versus fleet? I found this that there's quite a few restylers now that are doing this, but some still don't. They can't actually tell the difference, like because they just kind of throw all their numbers together and they haven't really divided retail versus dealership, or it's kind of muddled. And I think that's really smart. Or fleet gets bundled in with dealership because all the fleet they do is their, the fleet manager. And so they just count it in dealership. But I think it's important to separate fleet when it's actual a fleet job, whether you got that from the fleet manager at a dealership or you got it from going straight to commercial HVAC companies or whatever, right? It's just nice for you to know so that you can gauge how that growth is. So pick a few numbers that you want to track. And if all you know is monthly revenue, start with that. Something is better than nothing. And then now let's look forward. What is your 2026 revenue goal? What is your, how much retail, dealership, and wholesale sales do you need or want? And if you don't know, you could just do a percentage. Like right now you might be who'd I talk? I didn't ask permission, so I won't name them, but I talked to a restyler earlier and I asked them this, and they said they're 85% dealership, they're 15% retail, and they're zero fleet. They don't even, they would like to get into it, but they don't. So maybe that's how you do it. And maybe your goal is that you want to get to 33 across the board or something like that. You don't want to lose any business, but you want to gain more retail and more fleet in order to grow the diversification. So try starting with something simple. The next slide is for Josh. So Josh, I'm going to let you talk about this one. And I'll just preface it because I know we haven't talked about it in a while, but we were talking about like a growth ceiling, and most restylers are too busy doing the work to actually grow the business. And you talked about maybe like carving out some time, right?
Yeah, you really do have to carve out time. I used to be the funnel in the business where everything funneled through me and then out. And just like any normal funnel, you keep pouring more in the top, but only so much can come out the bottom. Eventually, you can't take it all. So you have to delegate, and you have to trust people and empower people. But then when you do that, try to commit a few hours a week, work on your business instead of in your business every day. It's tough if you're at a position where you're in your business every day and it's a grind and you're nonstop all day long, phone calls and problems and issues. And then you just want to get home and sit in the couch and take a nap or do whatever. But if you can just try to carve out a little bit of time and just dedicate and work on the business. And Jesse, obviously all these different things that you're bringing out will be a benefit of ways to work on your business. I think it's just so important if you're trying to scale it all.
Awesome. And I have a couple more for you if you want to touch.
Sure.
This is you're talking about, I remember like people say, I want to grow by 30%. And then
Yeah.
you were talking about how to break that down a little bit and being more granular.
Yeah, it's just being a little bit more realistic. And everybody says, okay, I want to grow by these huge numbers, and it may happen. But more realistic is if I could do a little bit over here and then a little bit here and then a little bit here, and then you look back and you go, wow, I've grown a whole bunch. But you have to find those specific areas. It's kind of like mowing your neighbor's lawn. If you want to take some of his yard over, you don't go over and mow like 4 lanes of it. You just do it 6 inches every mow. And then after the summer, you got like an extra 10 feet of lawn. So don't tell my neighbor I do that. But anyway, just doing a little bit here and there, just so that way, especially if you have other team members involved, because you're going to be really vested and interested and wanting to move this forward. Sometimes your team members are not, they don't have that same drive or that same vision. So by making things small and attainable, you're going to get, like it says there, less chance of being unfocused or burned out.
Yeah, I got a couple examples here that came from something you were mentioning. So like how it might break down, a couple more examples.
So yeah, if sometimes one thing that hit me, it was years ago, and one of my best customers, and we had been doing heated seats for years. Now we didn't do it for this customer, for whatever reason. They were a good customer. We just didn't do it for them. We did a lot of other stuff for them. And I remember the manager calling me one day and go, "Hey, do you know anybody in Columbus that does heated seats?" And I almost choked. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Steve, we do heated seats." And he's like, "What?" Oh. And it just told me that, hey, you know what? Maybe you need to look at some of your top customers, and yeah, you don't want to hurt anything you got going, but make sure they know all the things you do. You spend all this time in clearing the runway and making a good partnership with these people. Are you maximizing everything out of each one of those dealerships? So you could easily look at that, like your example there, and say, okay, I want to grow at 20,000 a month in revenue. You could say, okay, I'm going to go visit all these 10 dealerships and each one's going to give me 2,000. Okay, that might happen, might not happen. But could it be easier just to get 5 more from your top 4 dealerships? Maybe just a couple extra jobs per month. And then also growing your segments like you have there, your profitability. Try to grow, there's good margins in other parts of the business. besides just car dealers. And then making sure that you're almost putting like your rock in front of you, right? Or your quarterly milestone, so that you and your team's on board with it, so that you know, okay, where do we want to be in 90 days? And then actually check it. Put a calendar invite and say, okay, in 90 days, here's where we want to be. And then if you're not, don't worry, but just see, what did you grow? Maybe you didn't grow 20%, maybe you only grew 15%. Well, that's pretty good. So what's your goal for the next 90 days?
That's great. That's great, Josh. Thank you. Good stuff. I have one last slide for you, and this is just kind of a general.
You want me to be smart?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. I mean, that's tough. That's tough being smart. But no, yeah, it's totally true. You just really trying to, if you're going to work on your business, I mean, we try to be smart in our business, but if you're going to work on your business, you really got to do these specific things like it says there. Otherwise, you're just going to be taking that 3 to 4 hours a week, and it's just going to be spinning, the tire spinning in the mud, so to speak. So just using what you have there, making sure that you really kind of go in with those goals.
Josh, thank you. And by the way, I'm going to move on with this, but if you want to interrupt me at any time, please feel free. Thank you very much. Really good on goals. So now we're kind of transition. So it's where we start turning the goals into math. So remember, this growth calculator helps you kind of reverse engineer what needs to happen to reach the revenue targets. And it's a simple calculator, but it's just kind of nice for the goal setting. So remember, you have that available to you, and you enter the annual goal, your average ticket, average sale, and your close rate, and it shows you what that means on a monthly basis. So it's how much revenue per month, how many jobs you need, and then ultimately how many leads you need to generate. And so that a lot of people will have an aha moment when they look at that, because they're just not used to seeing it that way. A lot of shop owners say, hey, I want to do 1 million, or I want to grow 20%, like Josh said, but they stop. So what the calculator does is it kind of forces the clarity around those numbers and how many leads per month you need to support the goal based on those current numbers. And once you know that, the marketing becomes a lot less emotional, a lot more strategic. It also, if you're working with a marketing person or a marketing team or somebody like us, we love and need those numbers. One of the reasons why we need it is because, let's say you want to know, well, how do I know if it's worth spending any money on this stuff? Well, the only way to know is if you're measuring. And then what are you measuring? Are you just measuring leads, or are you actually measuring like the revenue goal and then the outcome? And so we kind of need to know, like, what is a lead worth? And to know that, we need to know what a customer's worth. So, and if you kind of do these numbers, not only are you going to be clear, but your team's going to be clear, and your marketing people are going to be clear. And then everybody can be held accountable. It's hard to be held accountable to something when you don't know what the number is. Like, that's a big part of it too. Okay. And then once you know how many leads, you switch over to the budget planner. And then that one will show you how much you need to invest to make it happen. So the budget planner helps you answer that question without guessing, and you can model different scenarios, see how it changes in the budget and how it affects outcomes. And then it gives you kind of a logical way of thinking about it and where you're going to spend your money. I will also tell you right now that for some people, it's going to blow your mind. And here's why I say that. There's a lot of restyler shops that have been around a long time, and and some of you guys have been built on the dealership sales model, and that's great. That's fantastic. Like the person I talked to earlier today, that was 85% dealership. That's wonderful until they try to get into retail and then expanding to like commercial fleet, and they realize that they have to kind of do more marketing and advertising, and they have to do more things that are not just showing up to a dealership and doing the rounds. And because of that, they were used to never spending any money on marketing. So it's an eye opener, because you're like, oh, well, how much you spend on marketing? Oh, I think I spend like $50 a month. It's like, okay, you're not actually spending any money on growing. So it might be an eye opener, and that's okay. You can also start small and kind of work your way into it. But I recommend you play with the numbers on your own, see what you get. So a general rule of thumb is, if you invest 5% or less, you're usually just maintaining where you are. 6 to 15% supports kind of that modern growth. I like 10% as a general number. That's what I use most of the time. 15% or more is aggressive. There's no perfect number or right number, but the decision should be intentional. And then we're going to look at the allocation. So how much goes into online, how much to offline, how much to repeat and referral. So when your budget aligns with the goal, the growth becomes predictable instead of stressful. And you do need all three. Like you do actually need to do some offline marketing. It shouldn't all be, online. A rule of thumb is it's usually kind of generally about 50 or 60% goes to online marketing. Nowadays that's grown. It used to be less. Well, now 50 to 60% is online. Now we're pushing back, 30% or whatever offline. And then you need to reserve a little bit for your internal marketing, your repeat business, your referral type marketing, right? Just so that you make sure that you're balancing that. And then you put it on your plan. So that is our section on marketing. Before I go further, give me a 1, type the number 1 or something like that in the chat if this is so far you're following along and you're finding any value here so far. Somebody else wants to join too. Anybody in the chat for me? I got a 1 from Erica. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Awesome. A 6. That's even better. Steve, thank you. All right. Now that we've set goals and clarified the math and talked about the budget, it's time to talk about the strategy. So strategy is, it sounds corporate. It's really just a plan for how you're going to get there. It's not tactics. It's not tools. It's actually more of a plan. And so this is a framework I want you to think as we move through the rest of this today. I call this the accelerated growth model. Okay, so every successful restyler that we've worked with, regardless of size or market, they follow some model like this, whether they realize it or not. So growth happens when these pieces work together and they're not in isolation. So the first part of the model is driving leads. Okay, this is about getting your shop in front of the right people at the right time, people actively looking for what you do. Things like SEO and paid ads and the directories that you can be listed on and getting referrals, they're all lead drivers. If leads slow down, everything else is going to suffer. So this is where most shops focus first. The second part of the model is maximizing conversion. And that got a little misspelled on the slide, but I meant to say conversion. And this is where a lot of the money gets wasted, okay? You can drive all the traffic in the world, but if your website follow-up process or sales flow isn't dialed in, those leads leak out. Conversion is about turning the interest into actual book jobs and then into revenue. So conversion is a big deal. Some people think of it in a digital way, like conversion on my website, like how good is my website at converting? That's part of it. But the other part of it is we talked about earlier, like speed to lead, picking up the phone, responding to text messages and emails. Another part of conversion is the sales process. Did you just call them one time and then never call them again? Or did you call them 5 times until they finally, buy or die kind of approach, right? So all of that is related to conversion. And it's all super important. And then the third part is optimizing results. So this is where you stop guessing, you start making smarter decisions like what's working, what's not, where should we double down? What should we do more of, less of? And that has to be constantly looked at and at least reviewed quarterly. So when you track the right numbers, you can shift the budget and you can shift your effort towards what producing the best results. A lot of times, we have a really crazy job in the marketing side because we're up against a lot of things. We're up against Google, we're up against Meta, and we're kind of your advocate. But what we find is that a lot of times things change. Like people will say, well, this is not working anymore. And we take the blame every time, which I'm just living with it, right? Sometimes it is our fault. We're not always perfect. We make a mistake. But a lot of times it's nobody's fault. What really is, well, that used to always work for us. Yeah, but it doesn't anymore. Why? Because things change. Digital marketing changes. The sales process might change. The consumer changes. Things are changing around us. And that's just a part of continually optimizing your results. You got to measure and you got to look. And then when all 3 parts work together, driving leads, maximizing conversion, optimizing results, you get the momentum. So this is how growth accelerates instead of feeling forced. And as we move into the next section, you see how it's changing here. I'm going to show you exactly how this model applies to SEO and then paid traffic, automation, and everything else in the marketing stack. So we're going to go through one at a time. The first one is SEO. So let's start with the first part of the growth model, driving leads. And the foundation of lead generation, especially in 2026, is still organic visibility online. So by organic, I mean showing up naturally when someone is actively searching for your services without paying for every single click. So this is not paid ads. I get this question a lot. So does SEO even matter anymore because of AI and the Google's changing and everything else going on? And the short answer is yes. SEO absolutely still matters. The longer answer is that SEO has evolved. It's like no longer just about ranking for a keyword, like window tint near me. It's about visibility everywhere your customer is searching. And it's actually just gotten a lot harder. It's made our job 10 times harder than it used to be. You used to be able to hire some person, to do SEO. And what they did is they got on your website and you did a little code stuff and they put a keyword on your website 50 times and then they charge you some money and your SEO is done. That doesn't exist anymore. Now, the internet, the Google and the rest and ChatGPT, they're searching the whole internet, looking at your entire presence to determine whether you show up or not. But basic SEO is still really important. So think about how your customers are searching today. They might Google lift kit installer near me, and I'm showing Integrity Customs here just for fun. They might ask ChatGPT, who's the best tint shop in my area? They might search YouTube or maps. Those results might show up. So the behavior's changed, right? They're not going to the phone book and dialing your number anymore. And they might treat it like the phone book, but they're getting it's leading them all over the place. And they still want a trusted local expert. And your job is to be visible when that intent shows up. So that's the key there. And think about how your customers are, other things that might happen. They might look at the map and they're going to notice, like in this example, most of what I'm showing you here on the screen, we call it the map pack, like the rat pack, but the map pack. And the map pack has 3 primary spots on it. Okay. And these statistics change all the time. So these are the more recent ones. I used to think the very person on the top of the map pack got 80% of all the traffic. And that might still be true, but overall, the top 3 get 71% of all the clicks. Okay, so imagine they go to and they type this in, and they're on Google, and like New Jersey Restyler, which is what was typed in there, right? It could have been anything, right? And you're like, oh wow, who's showing up? Now, here's what makes it more complicated. Depending on where they search, different things are going to be shown to them. So like if I search it from where I live, it's going to show me something different than if Josh does it in Columbus, or if you're in New Jersey and you search. So you've got to be on these top 3 or vying for them, because sometimes you'll be on the 2nd position, sometimes the 3rd, sometimes the 1st, sometimes the 4th, and it's constantly changing. But all of the clicks are coming there, and 67% of the first 5 listings are going to get pretty much every click. The point is, most of the traffic is just going right there, and they're not even going to page 2 or scrolling. We have a little infographic here. This is an SEO case study, performance metrics. So just some examples of how, Auto House, we were able to increase their organic traffic in 18 months, 217%. It was a lot of work. There's 746 keyword index, and they gained 24 positions overall, meaning that their average position was moved up 24 spots. It's a big difference. Integrity Customs took a little longer, but doubled the traffic growth, monthly organic visitors increase, and that competitive level of their organic went up 103%. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's not just, like I said, putting on some keywords. And Auto Additions, 1,700 plus organic traffic increase in 6 months. There's been a lot of it takes time to do SEO though, right? These things are not things that happen in a day or a week. SEO can take 6 to 9 months or longer to see results. Some companies work on it for years. So one of the keys is you got to keep fighting for it. And so, yeah, SEO still matters. It's a big deal. And ChatGPT, the things that make you rank there are the same things that help you to improve in your SEO. So that's the cool thing. If you do really good SEO, you're also helping get noticed by or recommended by ChatGPT and Gemini and the AI, because they're looking at the same types of things. Okay, so it does matter. That leads us into this, these buzzwords like AEO, which is answer engine optimization, and geo, all these things, or, all of these things, what they really are is just searching everywhere optimization. That's all it means, is that the ChatGPT and the others are mentioning you, but it's kind of a misnomer. It's kind of a false thing, because if you want to show up on Google Maps, the AI-driven search tools, and anywhere else customers are looking for, it's the same goal, it's the same visibility, it's some of the same things. So yes, you do want to do certain things, and we'll go into that. There's certain things that AI is going to want to recommend you on. But there are things like your reviews. There are things like, we call them trust signals. There's things like Do you have a really good frequently asked questions section or multiple sections on your website? Do you do pricing estimations? Do you have a pricing calculator? Do you have a really great way of communicating on your website? All of those things are going to help you get recommended, as well as your social presence now. So when somebody asks an AI tool for a recommendation, it's not guessing. It's pulling from real data. It's pulling from your website content, your reviews, your citations. A citation is basically anytime you're mentioned on the internet, like in a directory, like on Yelp, for example, or Facebook or yellowpages.com even. Anywhere that you're mentioned there, those count. Authority signals, like things like, somebody mentioned you in social media. You have a lot of articles out there. Maybe you've been mentioned in a magazine, like Shop magazine or something like that. All of those things add up. And then the consistency. So the consistency, here's the hardest part. A lot of people have come to me and said, well, I don't want to have to keep paying for SEO. I just want to give you some money, fix it, and then we're done. And it's really hard for me because I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Like you literally have to, it's like running a marathon that never ends. You have to do a bunch of work, and the next month you have to do a bunch of work. And then the month after that, you have to do a bunch of work. It is literally endless because you're battling. You're fighting everybody else who's also trying to do it. Right? So it's not something that's broken that needs to be fixed necessarily. It's more like something that it's like your body. You don't work out one time and then you're in shape for the rest of the year. Otherwise, I work out really hard and I spend the rest of the year eating pizza because I love pizza. Right? And then I'd be weighed 290 pounds. So you have to kind of think of these things as ongoing. So if your shop already it's ranking well and has strong signals, the AI tools are far more likely to recommend you. So that's kind of the basic idea there. A quick snapshot of where the attention actually is. So Google still owns volume, like millions of searches a month when people know what they want and are looking for a shop. But look what's happening underneath that there on the slide. So there's ChatGPT, huge number of new inquiries, Perplexity.ai, if you've used that, and it's rising, and Copilot, also through Bing. Remember, for those of you that like, who uses Bing and Microsoft? Well, anybody that gets a computer, especially if you're older, you use the default browser and the default stuff on your PC, right? Well, it's all Microsoft. So there's still a lot there too. And those numbers are smaller, but they're growing. And it's decision stage traffic. Decision stage meaning they're looking for the restyler now. So people are comparing options, they're comparing pricing, and who they should trust before they ever even pick up the phone. And Google's moving the same direction because they have their Gemini, SGE, blending AI answers right into the search. If you notice that now, when you search on Google, you're seeing their AI answers the first thing that pops up, right? So this isn't Google versus AI. It's the same customer. It's the same thing. Google is AI now. So they're just earlier in the decision process. These people are doing these searches. So we want to pay attention to that moving forward. Google still wins when somebody's ready to buy or like a near me search, okay, like local intent, all of that. But the AI platforms are catching up fast for research questions like pricing. Approximately how much does a vehicle wrap cost me? Approximately how much is this lift kit going to cost me? Or spray and bed liner? Or I want to compare this spray and bed liner with that spray and who's the best and who should I use to install? So all those research questions, people are using AI for those. So they're skipping all the traditional search. They're asking the AI directly. So you can't choose one. You got to show up both places. And yeah, anyway, so quick check. Do you know exactly what people are typing into Google to find your services? All right. The best practices start there. You identify the keywords that matter to you based on the services you want to focus on, the service area, the real volume. One thing that you could use if you're working with us that helps us is to get really clear on the top 5 things that you want to focus on in your business. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to rank an SEO on everything, I'm like, I don't, it's impossible. You eventually could over years, but let's say you picked an obscure thing like you do cooled seats, right? Not heated seats, but cooled seats. And that's all you wanted to focus on. Okay, great. Well, we can focus on that. We could actually make you rank number 1 in that probably in your area through work and effort and creating content around that over time. But while you're doing that, you're probably not also going to get remote start or window tint because that takes work too. So if you have hundreds of potential products and services that you can do for a dealership or for a retail, you've got to pick what you want to focus on because someone else, you just can't be the best at everything all the time online. It's too hard. We can rank you period, but we can't rank you number one because remember, your competitors are trying to do this too. So it sometimes makes sense to find something that your competitors aren't doing or aren't focusing on, and then hit it really hard, because it's like you found the chink in their armor. And then maybe that's the thing that could drive you traffic, and you can use it to upsell other things. A great example is spray and bed liners in automotive. I like to use this example because we focus so much on it for them. They just like go double down, triple down on spray and bed liner. Why? Because now they're ranking really, really high. And so anytime somebody wants a spray and bed liner, they go there. Now, they might not be winning in every other product category. Their competitor might beat them on something else, like maybe tires or something. But they get that customer in the door, and they can sell them a lift kit if they need to, right? They can sell them the other stuff on the sales process rather than the marketing side. So this is just something to think about. So the next thing is, do you have a dedicated page for the services that you're trying to promote? Or is it just one list of services on a page? And does each city you want that is really focused on? So that's how you actually show up consistently. Then you can lock into the fundamentals, like a fast website, great user experience, strong core web vitals. And then after that, it's two moves. It's like clean on-site SEO, and then the off-site authority. So Google trusts the business. And then the last step is you track the results, the rankings, the traffic, the leads. So it's obvious what's working and what to double down on. And this process never ends. You have to review it at least once a quarter. And you look at what's working, what's not, what do we want to focus on? Has it changed? Is my business different today? Or can I find something that's a weakness of my competitor that I want to double down on? So those are all some thoughts for you to put into this. Hopefully give me another one in the chat if that was useful to you. And great, thank you, Josh. Here, and then we have a list, thank you, Erica. We have a list of SEO keywords for Restylers, and then we're gonna have a document, thank you, Steve. We have a document to send out. She will put that in the chat too, or send it to you afterward. But this is a list of keywords that you can use to figure out which ones you want to focus on and rank, and how important they are. And you could decide what the importance is for each one. So we have that for you also. Here's just kind of a sampler of it. These are AI search terms for restyling services, and we'll send all this to you, by the way. You don't have to try to write it all down. But for example, in the truck and SUV accessories category, there'd be truck accessories near me. That's kind of an obvious one. But there's also some other ones like running board installation near me, affordable lift kit installation near. These are ones that are searched a lot, generally nationwide in most areas. Fleet and commercial upfitting. This one doesn't have as much volume, but it's slowly growing as people discover this. Fleet vehicle upfitting near me. How much does fleet upfitting cost? Things like that. Paint protection and coatings also is on the rise. So ceramic coating near me, cheapest ceramic coating near me, best ceramic coating shop in city. This one's highly competitive. This one's grown a lot. Interior and electronics, there's still a lot of search for car audio installation, aftermarket car stereo, remote start, etc. Window tinting and the AI optimization and unique version, there's some little bit differences here, like ceramic window tint versus regular tint. So you might say, well, why do I want to advertise for that or market for that? Because that person's not even, they're just researching. They might just be doing a school project. True, but you don't know how many of those people are actually potentially in the market within the next few months, right? So what you do is you have to start ranking for those, and that way you can eventually be there when the time is right? Because they will be making those decisions. Okay, if you want, there's a free ranking report and an SEO review, and we have a visibility snapshot we do where you rank today, what keywords matter most, how your directory listings and reviews look, your social presence, how well your website's converting. So if you'd like us to create an audit for you, just book a call with us and we'll take it from there. It's easy. We make it easy. Fatima's going to drop a registration link in the chat, or she'll send an email. You can grab that. So if that's something you want to dive into, let us know. Okay. Also on page, some tips here that we'll also send you on page: Google Business Profile, ongoing content, signal leverage. These are just sort of like a checklist of things to do. And then another example, one of our restyler clients focused on tightening up service pages and improving reviews and cleaning up local citations. So very simple stuff, very basic. And over time, they didn't just rank higher, they started showing up more often in the AI generated searches, which was cool. It's really fun when you see that ChatGPT mentions your shop, it's fun. It's really fun to see. And that visibility translates into higher quality inbound leads. So that's kind of a cool little thing there. Yeah, here's an example one, like, here are my top recommendations for the best automotive restylers, aftermarket accessory installers in Tulsa, Oklahoma, broken down by what they specialize in. So you can choose the best fit for your vehicle, and says best all around restyling accessories, Integrity Customs. So I was like, yes. So we got ChatGPT to rank that. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a trick. It's not something you just do like with a flip of a switch. It takes effort, but I think we were really excited to see that. Now the goal is to have them show up in other categories, lifts, wheels, and tires and things like that. And this is just some, basic things that happen for them. Total leads, organic traffic increases, keywords, traffic increased 2 times overall. And then what that produces, more revenue, which is the best part of all. All right, so organic visibility is foundational, but it's, for most shops, it's not enough. So to hit aggressive growth goals, you usually need to layer in the paid traffic. So we talked about organic SEO. Now we're going to talk about paid search. And that's what it's organic visibility is the foundation, but the paid ads, okay, the paid ads are how you fill the gaps. You accelerate results, you stay consistent, especially when it's competitive. And the problem isn't paid ads themselves. It's how most restylers run them. And I have to tell you, I have to be transparent. We've made mistakes. Like we've run ad campaigns, we're like, doesn't work. And it's not that we didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing things based on how maybe they were done months ago. And Google keeps changing the game on us. So again, we have to keep learning and adapting and getting better and quickly moving on. When we have a mistake, we learn from the mistake, move on, do it right. I'm talking to my team about that all the time, trying to get better. How do we get better? And it's changing. So let's just go over. Think of it like this overall as a marketing pyramid. At the bottom is the organic foundation. So you have your website, you have your SEO, you have your listings. Remember, that's where you're listed online in all the different directories, and you have reviews. That's basic. If it isn't solid, everything above it gets expensive. So I've had clients that come to me and say, well, I don't want to mess with my website. I don't want SEO. I don't want any of that junk. I just want to run ads. And I always tell them, I almost don't want to take their business because I know that if we do it, they're not going to get the result they want. They just won't. And then they get mad at me, and then we look bad. And we try to teach is like, okay, you got to get that foundation down. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of money. The next layer up is the paid search and the local service ads. Now, local service ads are trickier with restylers, and there's not very many categories. It's more for like plumbers and, lawyers, but they're probably going to add more of those. And there are some categories that we think might show up, but basically your Google paid search. And that also can include Meta, like Instagram and Facebook, but we put that in a different category. You'll see in a sec up above there. So people who are actively looking for it, they're searching. Okay. Then above that are the paid directories and the pay per lead sources. So there's not very many of those that I like or recommend, but an example could be Yelp. You could make a play there. There's a few of these others that offer you a paid spot on their website that could get you some traffic or that would do lead generation for you. And you also probably get a million emails of people offering to do lead gen for you. If they're doing lead gen, like they're not helping you build your own marketing, but they're doing it for you and sending you leads. All of those are basically like pay-per-lead systems. It's expensive. It might be worth experimenting with, but typically if you don't have the 2 layers below that, it's a waste of your money. It's very competitive. The lead quality can be it can vary. Sometimes it's good. A lot of times they're really lousy. And then at the very top of that, after you kind of look through those options of lead gen, is social ads, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And that's more for awareness and demand creation and retargeting. It's not usually for instant ready to buy leads. So that's why it's up at the top. It works, but it takes longer, and it's a little bit of you have to be careful with how you spend, because Facebook loves to steal all your money really quickly and give you a whole bunch of useless stuff. So you got to be careful there, but it is valuable if you can crack it. So on the sides, 2 things tie it all together. So your branding builds trust at every level, which is why you got to really get clear on your brand. And then retargeting and automation keeps following up so the traffic you pay for doesn't go to waste. I see this a lot where people say they spend a bunch of money on Google ads or Facebook or whatever, and then they don't really have any retargeting and they don't really have any automation set up. and they just kind of churning through that, and they don't really get a result. And then they say, I didn't get any leads, or I didn't get any good leads, or it's all spam. Yes, there's a lot of spam, but there's also a lot of good ones in there. It's just finding a needle in a haystack, and you have to have the follow-up and the retargeting and the automation to do that. So that's another reason why those are on the side of the drawing. When it comes to paid search, there's two main options: traditional Google and local service. Most of our stuff in restyling is going to be Google ads. Google ads are going to give you like control, keywords, messaging, landing page. The local service ads, if you can find a category that works, they're more simplified, but some service-based searches will work there if you can qualify in it. But you also have to go through and get registered and certified, and they check your business license and all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of a pain. The key isn't choosing one over the other necessarily blindly. It's just knowing when to use each. So typically it's going to be mostly Google search ads. And that's pretty much what you're looking for. So on the Google ads side, we run them very carefully. So we've learned that most Google ads campaigns fail for like a simple reason. They're just too broad. That's where we run into trouble when we make mistakes. It's just too broad. So shops will lump everything together. They'll be like truck accessories only, like just big, broad thing. And then, and thank you, Fatima, yes. Tint, lifts, audio, fleet, they throw it all into like one campaign. There's like one ad, one page going to their website. So that's the number one mistake don't do. Or if you're doing that, you stop doing that, because it's going to be low relevance, really expensive, poor conversion. And somebody searching for like ceramic window tint has a very different intent than someone searching for lift kit. So if you have them all thrown into there, it's just going to be bad. It's a different mindset. There's different questions. There's different buying triggers. So your ads and your landing pages need to match. So in other words, instead of sending them to your homepage of your website, you need to put them to a page that is focused on that thing that you're trying to sell in that ad. Or Google's going to charge you more, and they're going to send you lower quality traffic. So it's already hard enough as it is. Don't make it harder. Okay, the next one, a lot of shops run ads for a bunch of different services like, lift kit, tent wheel, bed cover. They send every single click to that homepage. Like I said, that's a disconnect. So they land on a general website. They have to hunt for what they wanted. Most people won't do it. They don't have the time. So here's how you fix it. Really simple. You match the ad to the landing page. Tint ads go to a tint page. Lift kit ads go to a lift kit page every time, only, no exception. And each page answers their questions, shows the proof, the pricing, general pricing, clear call to action. And then you want to reduce the friction. So the click turns into a call, it doesn't bounce. Otherwise, you're going to end up bouncing. Okay. And then a simple example. So for automotive, Autohouse Automotive, I mentioned them earlier, paid ads generated 784 leads, okay, in this campaign. And so even if they conservatively using 25% close rate, and I think they do better than that, but that's 196 books job. So if let's say they average 850 over time, once they finally close and get all those jobs, that's 166 revenue. So that works out to be a 6.5x return. So that's really great. It's assuming there's not perfect conditions. So we'll see how that pans out, but that's what we're expecting. It's best to have a dashboard. So we are building dashboards for this as well, or you can build them yourself. You got to basically get the analytics out of analytics, and then you got to and Google ads, and then you have to tie that back to your revenue. You can do it manually too, or in a spreadsheet, kind of a pain in the butt. We do some of this if you're interested. Now, here's a big one, retargeting. So retargeting simply means this: if somebody visits your website, they start seeing your ads on Google, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. So you're not advertising to strangers anymore, right? They've already seen you. So you're advertising people who already showed interest, and that's powerful. So most people don't convert when they first see an ad. So if you're looking at your stats, and you're like, I'm not getting any leads. You can retarget, means you remarket, means send them show that person another ad. And people are browsing. They kind of compare, they get distracted. They're eating a Snickers bar. They go to Netflix. You're competing with Netflix, by the way. They have their phone scrolling, and you're trying to keep them engaged. And you got to understand that most people don't buy right away. So you have to come back and show them again over and over again. So retargeting lets you stay in front of people after they leave your site. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Who here has had someone fall, like you clicked on something, or you even talked to somebody in the room, and the next thing you know, you're seeing their ads everywhere? Type a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about, right? Yes, thank you. You know it, right? Thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you, Josh. So it's one of the highest, thanks, Stephen, both of you. It's one of the highest ROI tactics in digital marketing when you do it correctly. And so it's important part of the formula. You've got to make sure that that's happening, and at least some of the budget needs to go there. So that leads to automation. So the reality is, let's say the speed to lead matters more than ever. And if somebody fills out a form and doesn't hear back quickly, they're going to move on. So the automation doesn't replace your team, though. It supports them. You're not trying to get rid of your employees. You're just making sure that they're more effective. It sends instant text message. It triggers a follow-up email. It keeps the conversation alive until somebody books or opts out. If we do it right, then it recovers leads that would otherwise be lost. It's a huge win. I predict, and I'm going to gamble here. I would bet you $100 that if you look through, and if you're working with us and it makes us look bad, so be it, because we need to get better. But I would bet if you look through your automation or your follow-up process, if you don't have automation, look up through your follow-up process when someone calls your shop and find out how many missed calls there are, and then how many connected calls there are, and then how many times do that person follow up with the lead. And I'll guarantee, I bet you $100 that if you just improve that by 10%, you're probably going to increase your business by 10%. Like, it's going to be an amazing boost to your bottom line. You don't have to spend $1 on advertising. You just have to do a better job of follow-up. I can almost guarantee it. So what we try to do is try to create as many automated systems to help with that. You still need people, but you want to make sure that they're following up and they're doing their work. Text messaging is especially powerful. Like we talked about earlier, if you got a two-way SMS and maybe some AI assisted follow-up, which is really easy to create nowadays in our CRM, you can respond instantly. You can answer basic questions. You can guide people toward booking without adding more work for your team and without having the AI say too many dumb things, right? So there's a lot of simple things that we can start implementing in there and that you should do. So all of this, SEO, paid search, it does one main thing: it drives leads. But the real asset isn't the click, okay? It's the database you build from it. So every lead that comes in is someone who raised their hand. So if you don't follow up, nurture, and stay in front of them, you're leaving money on the table. And that's why this model doesn't stop at traffic. So we mentioned traffic, you capture it, you maximize the conversions, and you keep optimizing the results by consistently following up with the database you already paid to build. So remember, every time you run an ad and you get someone who raises their hand in the form of calling or filling out a form or submitting their email for some free information, they've raised their hand, you paid for that. Like that lead, if you don't follow up until they either close or tell you to never call them again, you just wasted money, right? So that the database is the treasure. Don't forget about it. And my mentor always told me the fortune's in the follow-up. The fortune's in the follow-up. Write it down, put it on over your desk. The fortune's in the follow-up. All right. So the next piece is what we do with that database once it's coming in. So the best practice is to organize it into a pipeline, so nothing slips through the cracks. So for most of our clients, there's two main pipelines. There's retail and dealership, but there could also be fleet, and you could have three if you want. Now every lead has a place, a status, a next step. So follow-up becomes consistent. It's trackable. And this is where real wins happen too, because personalized follow-ups with every lead can happen. Your people aren't going to forget. They're not be like, I don't even know who that guy was, where they came from. And it's not generic email blasts. It's actual relationship building. You can also automate a lot of this stuff, but think of it like a concierge service. Like, we're taking care of people. We're staying helpful. We're making it easy for them to say yes when they're ready. A lot of people aren't ready today, right? So that is important. So in the workbook, I want you to rate your current organic visibility, your paid ad campaigns, and your database. Those three things. Green, you're ranking well, confident, you're feeling good. Yellow, you're visible, but there's room for improvement. Red, there's a weak spot. And kind of rate yourself on the different areas, on where you feel like you're at. And there's no judgment, just about awareness, right? So take a second to think about that. All right, now this takes us back to the website. So we moved past the drive leads and we're moving over to the maximize conversions, and that starts with the website. Your website is the hub of everything. Ads, SEO, directories, they all send traffic to where? Your website. Even social media, they end up on your website. So if your site isn't built to convert, you're going to be leaking a lot of money. This is a real example of a site that's designed with conversion in mind. It's evolving, but it's been working pretty good. This is Automotive Concepts. There's really clear messaging. There's clear calls to action. It's an easy way to book, call, or text. There's no confusion. There's no friction. Now, granted, I am going to give a disclaimer here. This is being very transparent. Whenever we launch a new website, and this is not just us, this is anybody who does websites. If they don't tell you this, shame on them. Whenever you launch a new website, you're going to take a hit every time. It's impossible, almost impossible not to. Now, there's ways that we try to circumvent and keep that from happening. But it's almost like, think of it this way. It's like you went through surgery. If you go to the doctor and you have to have surgery, they don't do like open heart surgery and then you bounce out of bed and you're running around, right? You have to recover a little bit, but you saved your life. And in the long run, you're better off. Well, creating a new website, it's actually kind of tough. It's hard to do. It's a great thing to do every now and then, but Google gets confused. Now we can try to resubmit it and do all these things and try to make sure all the redirects are there. But no matter what, it'll have a little hiccup period. So I'll warn you, if you're going to redo your website, make sure you're careful about it. There's a strategy to do it. Take your time and make sure that it's right. And then be ready to offset that with other things like paid ads and social media, because your SEO will take a little bit of a hit. But the good news is it comes back eventually much, much, much stronger. So again, long-term versus short-term is the way you have to think about it. And conversion is a big part of that, okay? So I want to show you a real snapshot from one of the clients. This is Automotive Concepts. Last month, December, a lot of agencies will brag about getting leads, like, oh God, 525 leads. That's great. And sure, we did that here. But in the industry, the volume is just vanity because conversion is sanity. That's the old marketing saying about that website. I want you to look at that 33% little tiny number on the lower left. That's the job scheduled number. So that's what a healthy funnel is going to look like. We aren't just sending tire kickers. It's driving high intent traffic. Now, will more leads eventually convert? Yeah, but we need to look at that. It's 33%, and that's not bad. That's actually really good. People go, what? Only 33%? But that's life, right? Because that lead quality, the client booked 174 appointments, right? And they've already closed 11% of the total volume with another 28% sitting in the pipeline right now. So the takeaway is this: don't just ask for leads. Ask for leads that convert at 30% or higher. And that takes a lot of work. You're going to have to make sure your website is really streamlined and that it's very clear on what it is that you're asking people to do. Because otherwise you can throw a lot of money away on a website, a fancy looking brochure. So the website's the hub. The question is, does it actually turn visitors into leads? So the best practice is to make it dead simple to take action. That's the easiest thing you can do to improve conversion. The call button is easy. Making a phone call is easy. Filling out a form is easy. Hit a get a quote, find my price button. I love, Josh actually came up with that phrase for us, find my price, because we were playing with what do we say? What do we say? Because they're going to go to AAC. It's like, oh, find my price. Because then they can go but they keep that navigation clean, clear service pages, add modern options like the online booking or the two-way text or chat. And then you're going to build trust fast. There's real photos, meet the team, strong reviews, and those trust badges. I call them trust badges. It's like when you have the logo of the dealerships you've worked with, you have the logo of the manufacturers you work with. Those are trust badges. Other things that make, or, like if you're in the Better Business Bureau and they sent you a little icon, you can put that up. Things that people go, okay, this is a real company, right? And then finally, you tighten your calls to action with the page matched offers. We talked about that before. If you have a special offer, it goes to a special place. It's very clear. Use short, real videos so you stand out. All of those things help with conversion. It's not, some people think it's all this, like you have to be a coder. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to know anything about code. It's not like, oh, there's this fancy conversion mechanism in the code of the website. No, like if tech people love to make you feel that way so that they can keep their paycheck. It's not about that. It's common sense stuff. It's like, is it easy? And is it fast? And does it have real people, so they know you're a human being and you've got all of these things in place? Then you're going to have higher conversion. That's kind of the bottom line on that. So in your workbook, rate your website, honestly. Green, built to convert, ready to go. Yellow, functional, could be better. Red, definitely leaking leads. So awareness is the first step. You got to be aware of it, of that process. So we'll talk about reputation for a minute. Okay, we're moving right along. We're going to get done with the circle just in time. This is one of the most underestimated growth drivers for Restylers. Your reviews don't just affect your trust anymore. They affect your rankings, conversion, and the lead quality. So this one is like an eye opener for people because I'll say, hey, how many reviews do you have? Hey, we got 12 reviews. Great. But they're from like 5 years ago and they're not new. And also they think, well, I've got reviews. So if people look at them, I look okay. It's way more important to that nowadays. Now Before somebody calls, texts, or books online, most of them will Google your shop and they're going to look up your name and they're going to look at reviews. So if you don't have enough reviews, or if they're outdated, or if you don't ever respond to your reviews, that's going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt your ranking too. And that hesitation alone can cost you a job. So that's a big one. We really like to focus on that. The trust reduces friction, and friction, it kills conversion. And so there's just pictures of these different examples of conversion. And it isn't that they don't care. It's that the review requests usually rely on somebody remembering to ask. So when it's manual, it's going to be inconsistent, right? And the fix is simple. You got to automate it. So after every completed job, a text or an email should automatically go out asking for feedback. And when it's built into your system, the reviews grow steadily without you adding work to your team. Your reputation becomes a competitive advantage instead of an afterthought. That's the key there. You've got to try to automate it. You still want your team to ask for reviews, of course, but you also have to back that up with some text and email stuff that's really easy to do. And that leads us to automation. So I'm going to ask you a question here, right? When things feel slow, okay, when revenue isn't where you want it to be, most shop owners jump straight to the conclusion, we need more leads. And maybe it's true, yes. But very often, is that really the problem? And I would say it's actually not the real problem a lot of the times. And you can see this on this slide. There are leads coming from everywhere, like SEO, Google Maps, Google Ads, Thumbtack, maybe. I mean, I guess if you could find a way to advertise there, one of those type of sites, your website, even offline, even like a billboard you have or a radio commercial. So the question isn't always where the lead's coming from. The better question is what's actually happening to those leads after they come in. And the real problem, the real issue is we see this everywhere. On average, 50 to 60% of inbound leads never convert. It doesn't mean that they're bad leads. It just means they don't convert. And it gets worse with web forms. About 90% of web form submissions fail to turn into a book job. And that's, again, it's not because the leads are bad. It's because the follow-up process breaks down. And most shops don't have a lead problem. They actually have a conversion and follow-up problem. And that's why I say it's like fortunes in the follow-up. There's so much money on the table if we can do better follow-up. I'm so committed to this that we've been experimenting with what I call our concierge services. And we've been mostly just doing some cold calls for some restylers, helping with trying to get leads for fleet and stuff. But that's not really the power of it. What we're trying to develop is some people on our team that just help you make sure that you don't miss leads. All they're doing is like going through your CRM, checking, make sure everybody got caught, handled, moved in through the funnel, followed up with, send them an extra email, and just make sure your team is aware. So it's so important that like we're willing to pay for it, because it's like, man, we know you're going to make more money if you just don't have that issue. So here's why it happens. First, leads that aren't followed up with, within 15 minutes, they go cold. In today's world, people move fast. The second is the average customer needs to be followed with 5 to 7 times before they actually book. And the third, today's consumers, they don't want more emails or voicemails. They prefer text messaging. They'll take an email and a voicemail, that's fine, but you have to have text as a part of that. So if your process is slow, it's manual, or like it's phone only, you're losing opportunity, I can guarantee it, even when your demand is there. And it makes it feel like your marketing is not working. And then you call me up and say that my ads don't work, and I'm mad. And we say, well, yeah, I mean, the ads could always be better. I get it. And there were some spam in there. We get it. But there's also some gold in them dark hills, right? So that's where we want to make sure we get focused on. The solution isn't hiring more people or working longer hours. I really believe that the solution is automation. Every web form should be followed up within the first 2 minutes, not hours later, via phone, text, and email. And the follow-up shouldn't depend on someone remembering to do it. The automation is going to ensure that every prospect's touched 5 or more times. And it's tricky. I know you don't want to harass people, but you'd be surprised at how people are okay with it as long as you're providing value to them, right? And you give an easy way to respond through like text message. And when it's in place, the conversion rates jump without increasing your ad spend. So if you take nothing else from this, take that one tip. You don't have to spend more money necessarily if you just improve follow-up, okay? And this little diagram is just, in real life, it's complicated, right? A lead comes in from SEO ads or your website, instantly enters a structured follow-up sequence, text message, emails, reminders, internal notifications, they work together, nothing falls through the crack. And that's how you turn your existing lead flow into predictable revenue without burning out your team. or constantly chasing more leads. You can also create automations for your team. They're not just for the people that filled out a form. You can create an automation that reminds them to follow up with somebody. You can create a notification that says, hey, it's been a week, you should call them back, right? So there's a lot of other things that will help with your team on that as well. So quick gut check, rate your automation, green, yellow, or red, right? Green is your like instant automated follow-up everywhere. Yellow is some follow-up, but it's kind of inconsistent. Red is mostly manual, lead slip. Okay. And if you want to drop your color in the chat, that would be fun. It's optional, but I wouldn't mind seeing green, yellow, or red in the chat. And I know this is pretty long webinar today. Appreciate you guys that are sticking it out to the end. We're almost there. So now we're going to move on to optimize results and start wrapping this up. The first is your total spend. So this is easy. We go back to the calculator, right? And you start looking at what your spend is. And it's where the budget planner, and red, Stephen, I thank you for being honest. I want to help you with that. So this is where your budget planner comes back into the picture. So once you know your goals and your lead requirements, this tool helps you see what level of investment supports the growth you want. We already kind of went over those. So again, less than 5% keeps you static. 6 to 15, that's moderate growth. 15 is acceleration. I usually recommend 10 if you don't know. It's a safe bet. It's not too high, it's not too low. It feels high though for those that aren't used to marketing. So it's going to feel really high. But remember, it's your total marketing budget, right? And then we go into average cost per lead. Okay, so when we talk about optimization, there's two numbers that matter more than almost anything else: your total spend and your average cost per lead. So if you don't know these, you're going to be flying blind. When you do know them, you can make confident decisions about where to invest and where to pull back. So this table here, just kind of a little example, it shows average cost per lead across different channels for Restylers. And this is really broad. I mean, it really depends on the keyword, but pay-per-click tends to be more expensive. Okay, Google local service ads, if you're able to find a category you can advertise on, is a little cheaper. It's harder to make it work. But if you can make it work, it's cheaper. And repeat and referral leads are obviously the cheapest, right? So what matters most is your blended average, what costs you overall average to generate leads across all channels. And the number becomes a benchmark for smart scaling. So some people say, well, if I can get $5 repeat referral leads, why would I ever pay for ads? True, but you think about like an investment portfolio. Some of your investments return higher, but they don't do it very often, and you don't know when. And in the meantime, you can get a home run with a referral, but you can hit base hits with paid ads too, right? So when you have it diversified, then you have more ways of leads coming in, and of course, you always want more referrals. So this is a little example of a dashboard. We did this in December for Automotive Concepts. We want to make this better. About 526 leads. The investment was $9,000. They had pretty large advertising budget for this one, but look, what matters is their average cost per website lead, $17.55. Pretty cool, right? And in another slide, I'm going to show you what that turned out into for revenue. So now we add the final layer, ROI. Cost per lead tells you efficiency. The ROI tells you profitability. When you can connect spend to leads, leads to jobs, jobs to revenue, that's when growth becomes predictable. And so here's that slide I was teasing. This slide shows how all connected. The leads come in, some get scheduled, some close, and from there we calculate the real return. So this is where the marketing stops being kind of expensive. You know, we all think it's just expensive. It starts being a growth engine. And if you look in there about the jobs once, kind of small, but 70 closed deals. So we can start tracking the lead to the one rate, like, and then how many scheduled to one, and kind of figure out, you know, there's the one revenue was 65,000. So if we look at the ROI currently, 7x ROI, that's pretty good, right? Now the scheduled to expected, there's still a lot of leads that haven't closed, but we think they might, and the revenue the approximate revenue is just under 78,000. So if all of them do close, theoretically, we could bump this up to a 15x ROI. Pretty cool. So these are the kind of numbers we get excited about and that we want to start tracking, right? That's how it's going to work and how it's going to get better. So I'll leave you with this quote because it still perfectly describes where most businesses get stuck. Half of my advertising spend is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. So the goal of everything we covered today is pretty simple. It's to make sure you do know which half is working. And when you have that clarity, you stop wasting money and you start scaling, and you can do it confidently. So Now I want you to just rate this section, optimizing ROI, in the last couple categories we had. Give yourself green, yellow, red. Greens mean you clearly know your total spend, your average cost per lead, and your return on investment. Yellow means you track some of it, not really consistently, you're not totally sure, or it's in one place. Red means you're spending money, you're totally clueless, don't know. So what is it for you? Think about that, okay? And if you want to put it in the chat, you can. And so I will also want to ask you a question. What area do you need the most focus on? What is the lowest hanging fruit? And we're wrapping this up, just a couple more slides before we go. But think about that. You know, where do you need help? And here's what the numbers mean in real life. So if you're generating around 418 leads a month at about 23 per lead, that can translate into roughly 260 installs per month. Okay. And with a solid conversion process, and that's about 137,000 monthly revenue potential, or 1.6 million on annual run rate. This is the kind of math that you want to start doing. It's not, you don't need to be a math major in college either. It's just simple math, but start tracking. The bigger win is the stability, though. You can hire confidently, you can plan your capacity, stop relying on seasonal spikes. It's not about more leads. I need more leads. It's a shop that scales without the chaos, right? How are you going to be able to make that work? So think, what does it mean to you, right? How would that change what you're doing right now? And if you do want help, you can say, hey, let's talk in the comments. We'll follow up and chat with you about more details, since we didn't have time to go into anybody individually. Also, we offer a free online marketing plan. We do analysis of your online visibility, custom keyword lists, ranking reports, analysis, all that stuff. We can talk to you about it. And it's a full roadmap that we're starting to put together. There's 9 steps. It's organized into one system. So first, drive leads, organic and paid, and your database. Then you maximize conversion of your website, your reputation, and then the automation. And then you optimize the results, your total spend, your cost per lead, your ROI. Basically, that's your tracking phase. You're tracking and you're reporting, and you're like, hey, what are we going to keep doing here? But when all 3 of these things that we went over today are working together, marketing stops feeling so random, right? It starts working more like a machine. You're never going to be perfect. We're always going to try some things that don't work. But as long as you go back and go, okay, well, last quarter, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What do we learn from it? How do we get better? Okay, the website broke. Okay, how do we keep that from happening again? Oh, well, we ran an ad and it didn't work, right? So that's kind of how you want to think about, right? And then what I want you to write down in your workbook, you can share them if you want, you don't have to. What are your top action items out of this? So whenever I'm involved in something like this, where you're in an hour-long, hour-and-a-half webinar, like, man, that was a lot of information. And you might be thinking, you know, I'm overwhelmed. So what I like to do is just write your top 3 things that you think are important to you right now to take action on. Maybe it is setting your goals better. Like Josh gave some great tips on that. Maybe it has to do with this marketing plan overall and your measuring. Maybe it has to do with follow-up. Maybe it is your SEO or your paid ads, or a combination of those things. Write what it is that you're thinking that you need to do and your first steps, and then put it on your calendar when you're done here. And then you won't feel like this was wasted time. You'll feel like, all right, I got something out of it. I'm gonna take some action. If you do want the ultimate marketing checklist, just let us know, and we will provide a checklist. All of this is in a workbook, but we also have a few other tools. We have some ROI calculators and other things. And if there's any of that you need, just let us know. We'll get you whatever you want. And to recap today, here's what we recovered. We covered setting clear goals and targets for the year, realigning your KPIs and tracking to achieve outcomes, mapping out a plan for accomplishing that. We talked about budgeting for marketing and advertising for growth, the different channels that you want to focus on, some important trends. You might remember one of the first slides was all the trends, and then hopefully setting you up for massive success and beyond in 2026. So again, if you need that review, let us know. We'll talk to you about it. And if there's any other questions you have, we've finished right about on time, about 4 minutes to spare. If anybody needs to leave, that's wonderful. Thanks for being here. If you want to hang out and ask me any questions, I'll hang out for a little bit. Is there anybody, and you can put them in the chat or you can come off mute and ask. Does anybody have any questions? Covered a lot.
How long, hey Jesse, how long does it take before you can really build a good ROI analysis? Like that last part you were showing on how many times you got for the money you're spending.
Okay, I'm going to throw out a number and then I'm going to tell you why it depends. I'm going to say within 30 days, we should be able to build something really good. However, the disclaimer is we have to have access to all their stuff. And that
Yeah.
actually takes time. Like if you're using AAC and we're still working on like how to, like what's on the back end of that, is it Zoho, is it QuickBooks, all of that stuff. That's actually, we have to have access because we have to at least long enough to connect some things so that we can take the invoices and tie it. That sometimes there's some back and forth and that slows us down a little bit. But once we have that, the other factor is your team has to be using the CRM, because if they're not actually using it, then you don't have any good valuable data. So as long as we can get those two things happening, and that's why I say 30 days, because it doesn't take us 30 days to build the dashboard. It takes 30 days for the team to start using it right.
Yeah.
So if they're using it right and they're updating things and we're helping them and everybody's on board and then we have access, then we can build it. So for sure within 90 days, there should be something that we can have in place that's solid. Does that answer that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Any
So
other?
I think that's important.
Super important. And if we're late on anything for you, just send us an email after this webinar. Yeah.
No worries.
Does anybody have any questions for Josh? I know that the two of you guys stayed for a long time. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. Well, great. So this recording is going to be made available. I know probably 80% of the people that signed up for this wanted the recording. So Josh, thank you for hanging out for the whole time too.
Of course. Happy to support. Happy to support.
If you have any questions about Josh and what he's doing, how do they get a hold of you?
Let's see. I don't even know my phone number these days. You can email me. How about that?
Okay.
J
Yeah.
Polson. That's JPOULSON at autoadditions.net.
And what kinds of things might they ask you about? What do you got going on that maybe you can help people with?
I still have my volunteer spirit on. So anything restyling, if they have questions about their shop or things like that, or if they want to know how to exit out of their business, if they want to know what's my business worth, we're doing a lot of that these days. We're helping companies, or if they want a shop management tool or a way to offer accessories to a dealership. So, or what the weather is. I can tell them, I can even look up the weather for them.
It's snowing in where you are behind you. So
it is snowing. It is snowing. Yes.
All right. Well, you have a great day. I really appreciate you being on. And then what's Kim saying here? What was this?
Oh, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim.
We're not allowed to have favorite clients, but if we were, Josh is up there. Oh,
Look at that.
Sweet.
All right. She's
Really.
manipulated Brooklyn as well. Have a great one. Good job, Jesse.
Thank you very much for being here, for spending the time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.